By making it about strength of field, you have crushed Australia, Japan, and all the rest, and they will never get points. Darkstar, the OWGR system that was just redone, the official World Golf Rankings, that new system that they put in place about 3 weeks ago has killed, nothing short of killed, pro golf in every country around the world with one exception. That would be America. How did this happen? Was it on purpose? Was it accidental, unintended? Darkstar, I know you have the details for us.
So starting with a couple things to give them some credit here. I think they were trying to put in a real objective mathematical situation in place. Also, it wouldn't hurt that, well, because they have the 72-hole events, some of the live guys were going to suffer. But the bottom line, as you said, in their effort to get rid of the subjectivity, I think we're bringing up this topic because Paul McGinley talked about how he felt Europe wasn't getting a fair shake. They brought up the Jumbo Ozaki situation. That's where really all this comes from.
Talking about footage from the Golf Channel in the last day or so.
Yeah, the last Golf Channel.
As we go into President's Cup week.
Yeah, because nobody's going to watch the President's Cup, so we got to pick something out of there that's relevant for the rest of the world in golf.
We had a situation 15, 20 years ago when Jumbo Ozaki, for example, was dominating in Japan, was coming over here, not a great record outside of Japan, and yet remained comfortably inside the top 10 in the world rankings. The view now, certainly from Europe and the rest of the world as well, has gone tweaked too far now towards the American Tour and the quality of fields that you have on the American Tour.
So basically, they talked about Jumbo Ozaki was always in the top 10 because he was always winning tournaments in Japan. And there was that subjective benchmark for each tournament throughout the world. This Japanese tour got 40 points, and the Players' Championship got 60 points, and they figured that was sort of the way to go. Now we have a system where they fixed the Jumbo Ozaki situation. I'll give them credit for that. Okay, you're going to have the strength of field is much more important. It's an objective number now. Unfortunately, by fixing Jumbo Ozaki, they killed the rest of the world. So they saved the patient's vision, but they killed the patient. Well, that's a problem, don't you think?
I do. And whether it was on purpose or not, probably not. I would put forth this concept. They've been looking at the system and saying, strength of field really is the most important thing in golf. And we all as golfers know that. If you're going to win a tournament with just 20 handicappers playing in it and you're scratch, well, that doesn't really say anything about your game. If, however, you win the state amateur championship for your state, that says a lot about your game. Now, even more to the point, if you win the California state amateur or the Florida state amateur, that says even more about your game versus, say, Rhode Island or Delaware, a small place. So moving the OWGR system to strength of field, let's just leave it there. We'll have another episode about how it technically is working with the strokes gained and all that. But suffice to say, for the purpose of this point that we're making, it's about strength of field. Okay, that's fair. But if you don't have a strong field and you're playing professional golf in Thailand or Japan or Korea or Australia, where there are just many, 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 many fewer people and many, many, many fewer professional players, obviously you have less strength in the field. France, Germany, England, Ireland, Scotland, pick a place. They have no opportunity to get a strong field. Therefore, they have no opportunity to get OWGR points. Therefore, professional golf, if you're operating the assumption, and let me add this, Darkstar, and I'll come to you. If you're operating the assumption that pro golfers want to play in the 4 majors and win those, because that's history, that's where legends are made. That's where nobody grows up wanting to win the Rocket Mortgage. Everybody grows up, if they're aspiring to be a professional golfer, to win the Masters or win the Open or win the U.S. Open. Those big 3, PGA being 4th for sure, in my mind. The kid in Australia Cam Smith, who grows up dreaming about whatever, we should ask him, was it the Open Championship? Probably. Maybe it was Masters because Greg's performance there a couple different times, right? He almost won. But so what does he do? He moves to America. He's living here. He leaves Australia behind. He has to. Did he want to? No. No, because the first chance he got to not do that, he changed it. He quit the PGA Tour and joined another tour that could give him an opportunity to maybe live in Australia half the year or whatever his plan is. We don't know. We'll figure that out different episode. But by making it about strength of field, you have crushed Australia, Japan, and all the rest. And they will never get points. And if you're 10 years old and you're in Japan or Korea or Australia or anywhere in Europe, your plan is simple. Which college are you going to attend? Which college team are you going to play for in the United States? Where are you going to live in the United States? You're going to move to the United States. And you're going to have a career in the United States. So the United States is the only place to play pro golf in this system. And that is wrong. And it's killing golf globally. Well, exact opposite of what they say they're about.
Yeah, I'm going to start with your last point here first then. Exactly. They are killing golf throughout the world because I'm not going to play golf now if I'm an Australian. I'm going to go play soccer because I'm not going to leave my family. I don't know anything about these colleges in the United States. And the fact of the matter is they took a system, and when they revised it, they didn't start really from scratch. They made the points an accumulation. So each player now essentially has a value. And each player brings that value to the event, and they just add them up. So a quick aside here, Liv should just have 1,000 players in their next event, go 72 holes, and they'd accumulate a zillion points because everybody who shows up at the tournament has some value. Now, granted, it's like 0.01%. If you got 1,000 guys at 0.01%, they bring a decent amount of points. That's a quick aside. I don't want to get off topic here. So the point is,
the Liv Points Open.
The Live Points Open.
Let's have a tournament once a month. It's the Live Points Open, and everybody, the core Live guys play in it because that's fun to meet those guys, and then it's 800 other guys.
You're gonna get me off topic. Yeah, they have a cut on the driving range. Everybody hits a drive.
I love that.
They have a cut on the driving range. They have 1,000 guys. They have a cut on the driving range, and then they go play. But the points are there because they're accumulation of points. So all the guys that play in the United States have a lot more points that they bring to the game. Everybody on the top, everybody on the top, I'm looking at the World Golf Rankings, everybody at the top essentially plays the PGA Tour now. And, going back to that Golf Channel where their comments, the Italian Open probably should have been even with the Wine Country Open. What was that in Napa? I don't even know the name of it.
Fortnite or Fortinet?
Fortnite, maybe. So the Wine Country Open and the Italian Open, they both should have been called the Wine Country Opens, right? They were both kind of in Wine Country.
That's probably a better name, actually.
But the American event was worth 40% more than the Italian Open. Now, Rory was there, Fitzpatrick was there, but it's those middle-of-the-road European players that aren't worth nearly... they're not worth near the points that a middle-of-the-road PGA Tour player is worth. And that was McGinley's point, and he's dead on. And the problem is it's everything from growing the game to the majors. These guys are hosed in the majors now if you're a European Tour player. You're not going to qualify for any of the majors.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It's not possible. It's not possible. And it would be fun to have Rich Lerner and the guys, on the live from desk, Brandel, Paul, Rich, Brandel being a little off base lately in the last 6 months, but talking about OWGR points, because the questions that could be asked of those guys based on what they're saying in this episode, we'll roll the tape in here, are just, they're really good questions that beg answers, which is, look, if I'm a top amateur, which is what you have to be to even think about going pro. And I'm 14 years old. I'm Sergio Garcia. I'm in Spain. I'm the next Sergio Garcia, and I'm in Spain, and I'm 14 years old or 13. Why would it cross my mind to play on the European Tour or the DP Tour? Why would that even, in today's environment? I'm 14 years old right now in Spain, and I'm the best player. why would I even think about that?
So it's then up to them coming over here to America and playing really well against these elite fields if they want to really climb the world rankings. But one thing is for sure now, with the new strength of field that's come in to judge the world rankings on, it's going to be almost impossible to play only the DP World Tour and raise yourself up to #1 in the world, like we've seen some players do pretty much in the past. I mean, Lee Westwood comes to mind about it, where he mostly played the DP World Tour. Obviously, a number of tournaments here, but mostly in Europe.
My dad and my parents are going to be saying, no. If you want to play pro golf, you need to go where the points are, because you need to win a major. You need to play in the Ryder Cup. You need to do those things. You're not going to go play golf just to make money at the Rocket Mortgage. You want to have glory. You want to have the thrill of all that. Why it's not about the money. So you have to go to America. There is no other option. As a parent,
but I think
is there any other option?
But the vast majority of those kids, the vast majority of those kids aren't going to play golf, though. That's the whole point.
Well, forget that. I'm talking about the 14-year-old right now.
Well, they have to. Yes, they have to go to America.
And what do they do?
No other game in town.
What did Victor Hovland do? Did he go to university in England or France?
No, they have to come to America.
Correct. You must.
And
that was before the system changed. So to make this point, Dark Star and audience, right? I mean, there is no option to stay in Australia or anywhere.
And the fact that this President's Cup, they're doing anything to hype it and build it up, because on paper it looks so lopsided. And it's a microcosm of the entire golf world now. It's in the United States. The official world golf rankings are going to solidify that. And that's a big thing about LIV. LIV has a lot of great internationals. All these stars from the Ryder Cup over the last decade play on LIV. And the guys that were sort of the misfit toys, as Brandel alluded to, the LIV did the President's Cup team a favor by getting rid of bad actors like Patrick Reed and Bubba Watson. What did he call them?
Captains have spent no short amount of time trying to figure out how to offset the quirkiness of, say, a Bubba Watson or a Bryson DeChambeau or a Brooks Koepka or a Phil Mickelson or a Patrick Reed. I think they have purchased and bought some of the more difficult personalities. You think about who might have replaced these players. Max Homa. Who could you imagine a more entertaining guy to play golf with? Or a Tony Finau, or a Cameron Young, for all that we've learned about him, and the stance that Billy Horschel has taken as a leader. I have no doubt that Billy Horschel, not only is his exemplary talent allowed him to make his way onto this team, but I have to think that Davis Love, watching the leadership role that Billy Horschel has taken on LIV Golf.
You're itching to do that episode, aren't you?
It's in my mind. I'm sorry. Anyway,
yes, we know the moon is not made out of cheese, Brandel.
All right.
There's nothing wrong with Bubba Watson or Patrick Reed, really. I don't think those guys are.
But yes,
they're not bad guys in the locker room at all.
Whether you're a Korean player or a LIV player, the only way to get points is to play
where the fields are
on the PGA Tour, where the points are, because the points come with the fields, and the fields are only in the U.S. events, essentially. Yeah. When you go now, like I said, Rory and Fitzpatrick were both at the Italian Open, and that was worthless as to gain points relative to the Fortinet, which is illogical because there were more big names. Well, and we can argue about who was
the strength of field as a concept is perfectly fine. It might be the best possible concept. That's a different show. Logically, it makes total sense, as we started the episode that way, strength of field. But you have to be aware that if you're the best player, if you're Vijay Singh and you're the only guy in Fiji that can play golf at that level, you can't play. And maybe he wanted to go play in Australia and he could have had an easier commute. Who knows? But you have no choice.
LIV Golf has its sights set on global markets, right? And the PGA Tour can't neglect, for example, that Italian Open, tournaments of rising stature on the European Tour.
The minimum doesn't mean that
do not neglect them.
You can't be a good player. You can't aspire to play professional golf and win majors if you don't go where the fields are, the strength of fields, and the strength of fields today, tomorrow, and the next day are going to be where they already are in a big country where golf is a big deal. And that's only one place. There's 330 million Americans, and that's where golf is going to be centered now, period. If this system doesn't get changed and they leave it go.
Well, they went from too much subjective to zero subjectivity. So, and I always look, and anybody who's a golfer, the weather's a huge thing. And so you have to have some subjectivity. You're going to go strokes gained. Well, if I'm playing at 8 in the morning and it's windy and cold, and in the afternoon it's sunny and warm, you have to there has to be some tweaking of the system.
Let's pivot to that. Let me set you up, and then I'll let you go, because I know you definitely want to talk about that element of what Paul McGinley said on Live from the President's Cup, but in relation to OWGR points. So I'll set it up and then give it back to you. And I know you're itching to do it, which is great. Paul McGinley said that shotgun starts are counterproductive to competition.
And then also, the dynamics and the mentality of playing a shotgun start, we talked about this before, not playing the golf course in rotation is very different.
Because they skew the way an event would unfold competitively. That's really what he was saying. He didn't say it that way, but he said shotgun starts are no good for determining who the best player is, because playing the course out of order somehow magically.
He said magically, yes. Playing the course in order magically affects it.
Now we saw that separately, and my head fell off my shoulders when he said that. Okie. But I know you want to comment. Go ahead. How do you want to react to Paul's point?
A couple things. First of all, number one, the first 2 rounds pretty much at every event go off split tees from last time I checked.
Of course.
That's number one. But more importantly, it's the most fair and equitable way of an event, because everybody's playing in the same weather conditions. Everybody's got the same putting greens that aren't chewed up and marked out.
Can you yell that? Just yell into the microphone. Yell.
That's as best as I can do.
That is. I mean, shotgun start is a phenomenal move to creating better competition.
Yeah. Same weather.
Because the weather
same
is
putting
even
greens.
for everybody.
And by the way, the hole that's hard for you may not be hard for me. I like to draw the ball around that dog leg. Well, you play a cut, you're screwed. You
had me at weather. You had me at weather. The wind isn't blowing at 8 in the morning. The wind is at 15 miles an hour at 1 p.m. It's a lot harder to get the ball close to the hole when it's blowing 15, which is normal, versus 0.
And I'm going to go deep into some dark memories here. I don't know, not into some dark star memories here. I remember distinctly Ernie Els was the only person that had the stones to comment on the fact that Tiger keeps getting the weather advantage and Tiger keeps getting the early-late start. Now, the early-late start in the majors has been shown to be a half-stroke advantage. And do you know that in every single PGA championship, all 26 of them, Tiger got the early-late start? Now, people, please, if I am wrong, but that was the best research I could come up with.
If it's the propensity, then it's not random.
Yeah. So you're giving the best player in the world a half-shot advantage? Hey, Bob May would like that half-stroke advantage back, because he might not be, he's probably teaching golf in high school.
Half shot's a lot in that's like tenths of a second in some foot race. I mean, in a 100-meter dash, that's everything.
Yeah. So it's an early late versus late early. It's a half shot, and there's many ways to look at that. But
go ahead.
I would like a half shot advantage.
So I
anytime
think Paul's
I can get it.
point. I think Paul's not a stupid guy, but in any way, I think Paul's doing a terrific job actually in his job. He's new at it. It's a hard job. It is.
He's actually taken over as the voice of reason and logic, if there is such a thing on the Golf Channel.
Not being a stupid guy, and he's not, but he said a stupid thing. Shotgun starts are phenomenally better for competition because everybody's playing in the same conditions each round.
Right.
That's by far and away the most important thing. Is the weather, the wind, the rain, the little spritz you might get, and if you didn't get it, the greens are now harder or not hard for you when you're putting. I mean, it's unbelievable the advantage that a shotgun start brings to competition, making it fair. It's unbelievable. Before we part this episode, the last thing that I'll put out there is if you think of live golf, and we're not even talking about live golf. I don't think we've mentioned it maybe once in this episode. But if you think about live golf as a country, Just think about it that way. It's a startup. It's got these 50 guys, 48 guys, a little deeper than that because they have a bench. And they're, France. And they want to compete in the majors. Well, the new OWGR system doesn't allow for that because there's only 48 of them. And you need, hundreds. You need hundreds of guys to keep the fields where they need to be. And is that a nice little benefit that the system's being worked on? Boy, it does hurt live. Isn't that a nice little side cheese to the whole thing? Yeah, they know that, obviously. At least to me, it's too obvious not to know it and to think, oh, good. We get to be America. We suck up all the talent from around the world. The PGA Tour continues its dominance. And it's nice that it puts live back in its distant place. It works. This is a great system for us. That's the only, it only benefits one entity. It really is the PGA Tour. It doesn't even benefit the majors. The majors don't get the field that they would have had. And
it's
detrimental
to everybody, detrimental to everyone except for the PGA Tour, which is shocking.
Yeah. I think it hurts the majors, though. I'll throw that out there. The majors don't get Cam Smiths of the world down the road. They don't. Not unless they move to America. Not every kid's going to move to America. Not going to happen.
So the last point about the actual objectivity that I'll make is there is erosion on top of everything else that obviously hurts the players around the world. You look at how far the live players have fallen. They've all fallen 30 to 60% in their rankings since the advent, since basically the players when all this started and a lot of the guys left. So I'll make a quick prediction here. I think I did give you take Texas in the points and Notre Dame in the points, but that's a different show. Quick prediction. When will they make the next tweak? They're going to have to make the next tweak when these Super Tour events, which are limited fields events, come around, because they can't just use that one-off excuse when they're going to have 5 or 6 of these events.
If I were the attorney for the PGA Tour, I would quickly squelch that. At least I would say, no, they're limited fields, but they're qualifying. We're qualifying the guys to get in those limited fields. They're going to hit live over the head with that. You live guys, you're picking players and paying them. You're giving them a contract, just like a baseball team, which is fine.
There's guys that were on live in the first few events that are no longer there, so there's got to be some type of qualification.
True, but there's no qualification system that anybody can point to. Of course there is. Of course there's an abstract qualification system. Live wants the best players, or they wouldn't have a product, so they're getting the best players somehow. They're determining that. Of course there's a system, but it's not as objective or at least official as the PGA is going to say, which is, look, you have to qualify to get in these limited fields event. If you didn't play well in those 6 tournaments, you don't get into the limited field event. You don't get to play at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So that's how they're going to get around that. The live guys need to think about 72 holes. That's their Achilles tendon.
That is their Achilles heel. They'll have to change the names.
Yeah, they're going to just have to. Well, first off, they need to fix the team names. I got that in. Right. Darkstar, I got that in.
I know you got that in. I got a little bit on
the team names,
and you got that in. Okay, good.
The team names. Come on.
They're married to those names. They paid some consulting firm a lot of money for those names. I'm telling
you. Divorce attorney. I mean, come on. All right, B team is out.
All right, Dr. Darkstar's out.
That's all for this video. For Dr. Darkstar and me, thanks for watching. This is a show about finding logical conclusions, and we appreciate you coming along with us. We'll be adding episodes as fast as we can. There's certainly no shortage of things going on in this world.